Okay, and welcome back to another Edit Pro tutorial, the place to go for all your editing needs. Okay, so in the first tutorial, we went over the entire interface of Final Cut Pro 10, version 10.1.4. If you didn't check that out, I highly recommend that if you're a new user. If you're already familiar, then let's get to it. I'm sure the next step is you all are dying to get into some video and audio editing. So let's do it. So the first thing you need to do is create an event. So what you do is you go over to your library selection, click on our library, right? Then you go to File, New, Event. You can name the event anything you want. I'm going to call this one Edit Pro T for tutorial. I'm going to click OK. Now, once you have that here, as you see, it goes under your libraries folder. And by the way, it's important to mention, if you want to create your own library, it's File, New, Library. You also see here the hotkey for creating an event. And now, you could either hit Command-I on your keyboard, you could go down here to import your media, or just click right here to import your media. So let's go ahead and do that. Open up, locate your media wherever it's going to be. Let me locate something here. Get some unedited clips. This is a good one. Then you just hit Import Selected. You could select a whole folder. You could do one by one. It's up to you. Let's go ahead and import. It gives us some options here. It says add to an existing event. You could also have created a new event here. So if you hit Command-I and you choose the library, see it's in a title library, and choose the event name. You have options. You copy to library, leave files in place. I highly recommend copy to library because if you leave the files in place, you could actually cause destructive, which means that Final Cut will edit those original files. So if you copy them to the library, your original media is always perfectly safe. It becomes non-destructive. So that's very important. There's some other options here that we're not going to go over right now because it's not necessary for this tutorial. And for most users, just hitting import is perfectly fine. We'll do all the editing choices inside Final Cut. Okay, so now as you can see, I have my media. So all the files, I have pictures, audio, video, everything I need, opening titles. All right, so the next thing to do is to create a project. To create a project, very simple, you go up File, New, and Project. You could also hit Command-N on your keyboard. Now, you can name the project title or whatever you're going to do. So I'm going to name it the same as my event, T. And we want it in the event. You could change the location if you had different events, but we don't want to change that. And we hit OK. Now this creates a new event, a blank timeline, which is great because now we can import our media. So how do we do that? There's definitely many options. You can just drag and drop something like so. You can also click on something and use one of these options here. There's three options. The first one, which is Q on your keyboard, is what it does is append your media above the primary storyline. Like we said before, the primary is the gray in here. So what it'll do, it'll add it on top of your media. And how it does that is you select a place, say right here, select a media, anything that you want over it, and then you could either hit here, Q on your keyboard. You could also just drag media on top of each other if you want. You can scrub through it here. You could also scrub through here and it'll come through on your viewer. Other options about importing media, right here. The middle one is, say you have two clips like this, but you want something in between them. You just move the timeline right here in between, select the media, and then hit W on your keyboard. You could also drag it in place or press the button here. The final one is the most commonly used one. It's E on your keyboard. And all that does is, instead of just dragging and dropping media like that, you can select your media, you hit E, and it just adds it to the end of the storyline. Down here is zoom, so you want to make your media a little bigger if you're doing some intricate editing, maybe smaller so you can see more at a time, whatever may be the case. As we said, you could add a keyword to the media. So say you select this and you could hit here or Command K on your keyboard and say these are coffee beans and you want to create a coffee beans folder. So coffee beans, enter, and that adds a keyword to here. And if you go to your libraries, now you see coffee beans and that media is right in there. That makes organizing very easy. Another way to organize is right here. You have favorites. So say there's a video that is your favorite, you really like it, you click on the star, and it creates a favorites folder for you, which will make it easy to find. Say you don't like something, I don't like this bird picture, you can reject it right here. You can also hit delete on your keyboard. For favorites, it's just F on the keyboard. This one's if you made a mistake. Say you made something your favorite, but you didn't really mean to. You can hit U on your keyboard, or of course you can just hit this button right here. Now, let's go over a few other things with importing media. So you want to be a little fancy and edit on the fly. So say you're looking at some video like this. You can play it once again by using space bar. Okay, and you're looking, it goes through. A few options here. Say you only like a piece of it. You don't want this whole clip. It's too much, whatever the is. While you're going through, say right here you like it. Pressing I on your keyboard creates an input part, and if you hit O on your keyboard, it's an output. Now, it's when you press E or any Q, W, or any of these buttons, whichever you prefer, it will only add that section of the clip to your timeline. So this is a good way, to kind of edit on the fly, input, output points, drop it right into the timeline, makes it so much easier and saves you on cutting later on. So, okay, now we got some media in here. Of course, it's quite random, but that's okay for this tutorial. Let's go over some of the tools. The select tool is simple. It's to select. You can move around items. The timeline is magnetic, meaning that when you have items together, it'll move it with you. So you can move the audio, video, everything together so you don't disrupt what you've already fixed. Other options in here, A is to get back to the select tool. Trim. Okay, so if you want to trim some audio, right? Now, you don't necessarily have to hit the trim. You can actually just select the audio clip, go to the left or right sides, and drag. As you see in your viewer window, you have two videos. The first one is, to the left is the video you're editing. The other one is the other clip next to it in the timeline. So this becomes useful if you have multiple angles, say, and you want to cut from, say, a long shot where they show the whole scene to a close-up. But when you put the media in, it's not quite right. When you go to the close-up, the character, the actor is at a different point than they were in the long shot. So you may need to trim the video, right? so you can get them both happening at the same time, right? And frame by frame, so the viewer helps you with that. So you could see, obviously these two clips are exactly the same, so it doesn't help. But if they were different, let's say, let's do this one, right? Now you can see you want it to cut from maybe the handshake right into the title sequence. And you could line it up any way you want. Next option is the range tool. This is similar to the selection, the yellow selection up here. Say you want to select a range of a clip. Maybe you need to only edit this section. Maybe you want to cut it out. Maybe the audio in this section for some reason is a little off, and you can make adjustments to just that section, just the range. Now, position tool is if you want to change the position of clips along the timeline. Similar to the select tool, but it gives you a little more control. Creates kind of these boxes, which if you want to create maybe some blank space between media, so it becomes helpful in that sense. Maybe you want to go from this scene to a blank scene and then to the next scene, and then of course you can adjust it. Like I said, you don't have to hit trim if you want to make adjustments. Just using the select tool, clicking on media and shrinking it down, lengthening it, you could do it just like that. Blade tool, simple. This is a more permanent trim, although it doesn't destroy your video. So say you see jungle production narrated. Okay, you want to cut it right here. It's too long. You can make a cut. This is also helpful instead of using the range tool if maybe you want to make a change to just this section, or perhaps you want to delete that section entirely. But what I mean by non-destructive is, say if you go here and you stretch it out, the media you just deleted is back again. So if you're making a mistake, don't worry so much about it. All right, and the zoom tool is like the function here. It zooms in and out of the timeline. Hand tool is if you want to move across, but you could just use your mouse for that. The bar down here. It's not necessary to go into here, but it's available for you if you need it. Let's open the inspector for a minute and see some options here. So, as you can see, the balance has been analyzed. So if you need to balance the color, let's make an option. This may help. Stabilization options. Maybe you wanted to scale this for some reason, right? You could scale it, you can make it bigger, kind of create almost a zoomed in effect, zoomed out if you want to create some cool options. Like for instance, maybe you want two things playing at once. You can move this down to like 50%, right? You could change the position here, or you can go here to transform. And say you move this video here, right? And then we drop this clip right here in underneath it, and let's extend it out. Do that. It's okay for now. Okay, and see, maybe we want to click on that one. And we could scale that down to 50%. You could also go right here and type it in for you. Let's move that here and select done. Now, that's a pretty cool effect, right? Simple editing. So when you go and play them, let's see, both clips are playing at the same time. It creates nice effects. Now, say, why don't we add a title to this? Go over here. Let's just do a basic one, blur. We could drag it over. You could also use these buttons over here if you select, or the hotkeys Q, W, and E. And title editing is pretty simple. You just go over the title. Now see here, if you have the title selected, you could go over the text and edit the text here, size, color options. You could also, if you're on the timeline spot, double click here and add your text. So edit pro, yes, And maybe we want to resize that and make it bigger. We could also move it by hitting this little circle in the middle. So maybe we want to change its location. Maybe we want it over here, and so we size it a little bit. Edit Pro, look at that. And yeah, the color is good, but maybe we want to change. Go over here, set a white. Many options in here. So got a nice green effect. There we go. And that's a simple way to add titles. Everything is drag and drop, so if you have an effect you want, maybe you want a 50s look on one of these media, drag it right onto the media, and now it looks like it's from the 50s. Bad TV, let's see what that looks like. Okay, so some bad TV. You could also add these to titles. If you want to give the title effect, aged paper. Let's see. There we go. So you got an old bad looking TV here, 50s television. It creates some interesting effects. And that's basically it on basic editing. We will go into more advanced color correction, all the effects, green screening later on. The third section of this basic tutorial will talk a little more about the audio and some of the basic stuff you can do there. So I really hope you check it out. Thank you.